Welcome to this cross-training class for runners. So we're going to work on key areas that runners oftentimes have trouble with or have tightness in. So we're going to look at the quads, the hamstrings, the hip flexors, and a little bit in the shoulders. So we're looking to find energy in them and to engage, but then also to re-lengthen. So we'll start lying on your back, and you'll bend your knees and bring your feet flat on the floor. Good. We call this constructive rest pose. Your palms will face up towards the ceiling, and you'll start to feel an openness in the chest. Feel a softness in the space of the hip flexors. And find your breath. So you can close or soften the eyes and start to feel the breath moving in and out of the abdomen. So on the inhale, you feel the belly gently lift up towards the ceiling. On the exhale, you feel it soften back towards the floor and towards your mat. From here, you'll draw both knees into the chest. Hold on to the legs with the arms and relax the shoulders and the head. Feel the belly press into the thighs on the inhale and soften away from the thighs on the exhale. And so we're just going to start to warm up through the hips and through the core. So you'll bring your arms back down alongside your hips. And if it's more comfortable, you can bring the arms out into a T position. Palms face down. Then you'll lift the hips up over the knees and bring the shins parallel to the floor. From here, drop the knees halfway off to the right. Hug that right knee up into the left knee. Hold here for a complete breath. Feel the belly spinning in the opposite direction of the knees. Good. Next time you inhale, come back to center. Exhale, drop halfway off to the left. Hug that bottom knee up into the top knee. Feel the belly and the belly button actively spinning up towards the ceiling. Good. Next inhale, come back to center, and then you'll move on each breath. Exhale, halfway down, hugging the knees together. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, halfway down to the opposite side. Inhale, come back to center. So you want to feel the abdomen actively moving in the opposite direction of the knees. So it's as though you're trying to keep the low back pressed onto the floor. If you'd like some additional work here, then as you lower the knees halfway off to the side, you can extend the legs long. Good. Bend the knees and come back to center. Halfway off to the opposite side, extend the legs long. Bend the knees, come back to center. If you want to kick it up even another notch, then you can keep the legs straight. Drop the feet halfway off to the side. Come back through center. So pick one that feels best for you and keep moving with your breath. Inhaling to center. Exhaling, dropping halfway off. Good. 2 more breaths. Keep the belly actively spinning in the opposite direction. So we need a lot of rotational core strength for running. Last one. Good. When you come back to center, hug the knees into the chest. And now you'll need your strap. If you don't have a strap at home, you can always use a blanket or a scarf. But you'll plant your right foot flat on the floor and keep the left knee drawn into the chest. From here, you'll take your strap and you'll wrap the strap around the ball of the foot. Good. So you'll see how Faraji is keeping his thigh really close to his belly. You're going to want to keep that. If you don't feel much, then you can extend the right leg long, otherwise keep it bent. So you may stay here. If you feel like you can go a little bit deeper, you'll start to straighten this leg, but you want to keep that thigh as close to the belly as you can. Good. You want to feel the stretch right in the meat of the muscle. So right in the belly of the muscle rather than at the insertion point behind the knee or up near the sit bone. So can you be okay with the leg shaking a little bit? Can you find a softness and an ease in your breath? And you can let the arms be kind of heavy here, relaxing any gripping or pulling, and just letting the natural weight of the arms sink down. Good. You can wrap your hands into the strap and just breathe. Two more breaths here. And then from here, you're going to take the strap into your right hand and bring the foot halfway over to the right. Good. Start to feel a stretch through that outer left hip. So the left hip is still moving in the direction of the floor, though it may have lifted already. From there, you can come into a complete twist, dropping that foot to the floor and bending the left knee as much as you need to feel comfortable here. So it may be very bent, or it may start to move towards straight. The opposite arm can come out into a T position. Then see if you can breathe some length through this left side body, through the left waist and out through the left hip. So we tend to start gripping through the hips. So can you release and soften that? One more breath here. To come back to center, you'll bend the left knee and draw yourself back to center. Good. Let go of your strap and plant the left foot flat on the floor. Hug the right knee into the chest. Good. So start here. From there, you'll bring the strap around the ball of the foot. And you'll make that connection between the thigh and the belly. If you want to, you can straighten this left leg. Otherwise, keep the knee bent. So if you feel a stretch here, then stay here. Otherwise, you can start to work the heel up towards the ceiling and the sole of the foot parallel to your body. Good. So you want to feel that stretch again right in the middle of the muscle, not behind the knee or near the sit bone. So find a space that's comfortable for you, and then start to soften into it. Relaxing through the shoulders, any muscles of the face, and the neck. Can you be okay with that leg shaking a little bit? And can you keep a softness and an ease in the breath? From here, you'll take the strap into your left hand. Keeping the knee as bent as you need to, you'll draw the left or the right foot off to the left, so it comes about halfway over. Keep actively drawing that right hip down towards the floor and feeling a stretch through the outer right hip. From there, you can come into the complete twist, dropping the foot onto the floor and allowing the right hip to lift off away from the floor. And maybe it comes to the floor and maybe it doesn't. You can keep the right knee as bent as you need to feel comfortable here. And then start to create some space through this right side body all the way out through the hip. Take one more breath here. After your breath, bend the knee into the chest to come back to center. Good. Release the strap. Hug both knees into the chest. Rock around from side to side. And then rock vertically on the spine. So you're rocking from the tailbone up to the shoulders until you rock all the way up into a seat and swing yourself around and come onto all fours. So now that you're on all fours, you'll tuck the toes under. You'll walk the hands one hand length forward. Good. From here, you're going to start to shift your weight back into your hips, so the arms will straighten as they press the floor away. Good. If you're a little bit longer like Fraji, you may need to walk your hands a little bit further forward. And then you'll start to lift the knees off the floor. So you're engaging through the core, engaging through the quads, and then lift a little bit more, starting to move the legs towards straight. They probably won't come all the way straight, and that's not the goal here. The goal is to keep the belly close to the thighs and to find a lot of length through the back body. Good. So the belly doesn't need to be touching the thighs. You can engage the belly to draw the ribs back into the line with the body. But you want to make sure that you're still feeling that stretch through the meat of the muscle, not behind the knee or behind the sits bones. From here, you're going to keep the heels lifted and drop both heels off to the right. Keep the knees as bent as you need to and reach up and back, especially through that left side and that left hip, and breathe some space in there. On your next inhale, come back to center. Take a moment at center, pedal the feet out if you need to, and then drop the feet off to the left. Reach that outer right hip back and up, and breathe into the stretch. On your next inhale, you'll come back to center. And then you'll step the right leg forward in between the hands. You may need to help it forward with the hands, or you may make it. And then drop that back knee onto the floor. Good. Make any clothing adjustments you need to, and then plant the hands on the floor and find a lot of length through the back body, up through the crown of the head. And you'll start to feel a stretch through the front of those left hip flexors. Keep the back toes tucked in under, and bring the right hand onto the right thigh. Start with the left hand on the hip. Good. So you feel a lot of lift through the upper body. You're going to zip up that low belly, bring the low belly away from the front thigh. Nice. And then release the shoulders. From there, all you're going to do is engage the quads and lift the back knee. Good. And then lower. On an inhale, you'll lift the back knee. On an exhale, you'll lower. If it feels comfortable, you'll reach that left arm up. Looking for a little bit more stretch through the hip flexors and the psoas. Finding all of that strength and engagement in the quads. Good. 2 more. After your second one, you'll release back down, fold forward and plant the hands. From here, all you're going to do is lift this back knee off the floor and start to shift some weight back so you feel a stretch through the calf. So slide some weight back into that heel and just stretch out a little bit. And then you'll plant the hands and step back, downward facing dog. So you may take a few steps to get there, or you may just take one. But downward facing dog is going to be a really nice pose to counterbalance all of that pressure on the spine from running, and all of that weight coming down. From here, you'll step the left foot forward and drop the back knee to the floor. Start by finding length through the spine, Notice how that left hip is going to want to creep up, and see if you can draw the left hip back and down, finding some space through the left side of the body too. Then bring the left hand onto the left hip, right hand onto the right hip. Good. So the left hand is on the thigh, the right hand is on the hip. From here, zip up the low belly, drawing the belly away from the front thigh. Good. On an inhale, straighten the back leg, lifting the knee off the floor. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. If you'd like a deeper stretch through the hip flexors, reach that right arm up. Good. Two more times here. Lifting, lowering. Last one. Good. From here, you'll fold forward, plant the hands on the floor. If you need blocks underneath the hands, then bring blocks underneath the hands. And you'll lift this back leg up and press out through the heel. You may need to widen your stance a little bit so the ankle is a little bit further over the toes. And then press back so you get that stretch through the calf. Take one more breath here. And then this time you'll step the back foot forward, coming into a standing forward fold. Keep the knees really bent here. Keep the belly as close to the thighs as you can get it. And find a lot of length and extension through the spine. So we're looking to find a nice, healthy stretch for the hamstrings, staying out of the attachment points. And avoiding that excessive rounding in the back that tends to happen. From here, put a deeper bend in the knees. You're going to come up through Utkatasana or chair pose. So you'll inhale the arms out to the side. Exhale, sit down a little bit deeper in your chair as the hands come to the heart. Good. So you find all of that length through the spine. And then you can start by bringing both hands onto the right thigh. Good. Exhale, twist off to the right. If you can come a little bit deeper, then you can hook that left elbow over the right thigh and come into a prayer twist, stacking the palms one on top of the other and stacking the elbows. Just finding a nice rinse for the spine. One more breath. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, both hands to the left thigh. Twist that way or hook that right elbow over the left thigh. Stack the palms. And twist. Keep drawing that outer right hip back. Good. On your next inhale, unwind and press yourself all the way up to standing. Exhale, release the arms. Good. Just roll the shoulders down and back and down and back. Then you're going to step back with the right foot coming into a high lunge. Good. So the right heel is lifted and the back thigh is really strongly engaged. You'll start with the hands at heart center. If that feels difficult, then you'll bring the hands to the hips. So what you'll do is on your inhale, you'll lean the torso forward and draw the knee up into the chest. On the exhale, you'll step all the way back into your high lunge. Good. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, step back. So we're working to build up those stabilizing muscles of the hips, to work and engage through the hip flexors, to strengthen the standing leg, to start to coordinate breath with movement. 2 more. Good. On your last one, you'll hold the knee into the chest. You'll take the left hand onto the right knee. Start to twist off to the right. Good. The hand can stay on the hip, or you can extend it out back behind you. Beautiful. Look at something that's not moving. One more breath here. On your next inhale, You'll come back to center. If you need to tap that leg down, you can do that. Otherwise, you'll cross the ankle over the thigh and start to sit down. Make sure the right foot is really flexed here. Hands can come to the heart. If you have really unusually open hips for a runner, then you can start to fold forward and actually hook the elbows over the calf or over the shin. Good, just like Faraji's doing. It's okay to wobble. You're building that stabilization, those muscles. And you're also working deeply, as I'm sure you can tell, through the hip. Take one more breath here. Then press back up to stand and release the right leg. Good. Light fists with the hands and just start to bounce. Shake it out, perhaps bring an internal smile or an external smile into your practice. And then release. Find stillness again, and now we get to do the other side. So you'll step back with the left foot this time, high lunge, hands can be on the hips or at heart center. So you find all of that strength and power through the legs. And from there, you'll inhale forward, drawing the knee up into the chest. Exhale, step back. There is always an option to tap your foot as you come forward and to tap as you go back. Otherwise, you can step all the way through. You can also drag that foot on the floor if you need to. Good. So we're working to both engage and then release through the hip flexors. 2 more. Good. Last one. When you draw your knee into your chest, if you need to tap it down to find balance, do that. Take the right hand onto the left knee, start to twist, open to the left. You can extend that right or that left arm back behind you. Good, and feel the stretch through the hip. Feel yourself balance. Notice any wobbliness, and see if you can be okay with that. 2 more breaths. After your second breath, you'll inhale and unwind. If you need to tap the foot down, you can. Otherwise, you'll cross the left ankle right over the right thigh and start to sit down in your chair. Hands can come to the heart and look at something that's not moving. So you may stay here. You may not have sunk down very much at all, but find a place where you can be still. If you want to, you can work to hook the elbows over that shin. That's a nice way that if you start to lose your balance, your hands can come to the floor. But feel the standing leg really working, but then feel that deep opening through the left hip. Flex the left foot. 2 more breaths. Good. On your next inhale, you'll press to stand and release the leg. Good. Light fist with the hands. Shake it out. Internal, external smile optional. And then find stillness. Make sure the ears are over the shoulders are over the hips, and the hips are over the feet. So you feel this integrity in your stance. Before you step the right foot back, and now you step the right foot back, coming into a warrior 1 stance. So feet are that hip distance apart. Back toes turn slightly towards the front of the mat. The back heel is strongly grounded. Bend the left knee. Good. Engage the low belly away from the front thigh. And if it's comfortable, you'll clasp the hands behind the back. Start to draw the elbows towards one another. Soften through the shoulders. Beautiful. So you're finding all of that openness in the chest that usually we don't have when we run because we're running forward, or if you ride bikes, you're huddled forward. So you feel that expansion. The engagement in between the shoulder blades and that space of the rhomboids and the traps. Good. From here, you're going to start to shift your weight forward, and you're going to lean forward and balance on your left foot. You'll lift the right foot up and bend the right knee. You may need to break the clasp of your hands to take hold of the foot, or you may need to wrap your strap around your foot. Good. Either way, you want to still find that openness through the chest as you hold on to the foot. Press the foot into the hands and the hand into the foot. You may stay here and stretch. This may be really intense for you. If you'd like to go a little bit further, you can start to lift that back knee and bring the torso towards being parallel to the floor. Putting a slight bend in the standing leg can help balance. It's okay if you wobble. Beautiful. One more full breath here. And then release the right leg down so you come to stand at the top of your mat. Nice. Roll the shoulders down and back and down and back. And then step back with the left foot. Warrior one stance. That back heel is really grounded. Bend the right knee right over the right ankle. Feel the low belly zip up. Relax through the shoulders and then clasp the hands behind the back. So you feel that expansion and openness through the chest. And can you sink into that and be with that right away? We'll take 3 more breaths here. Can you soften through the shoulders and continue to feel that expansiveness? Breathe into any stretch. After your 3rd breath here, you'll start to shift your weight forward, coming onto the right foot. You'll bend the left knee. If you don't need to break the clasp of your hands, you can simply slide the hands around the foot. Otherwise, you'll break the clasp or take a hold of your strap. Press the foot into the hands and the hands into the foot. From there, you may start to lean forward, lifting that back thigh and lowering the upper body towards being parallel to the floor. It doesn't have to happen today or ever, but just moving in that direction. Keep lengthening through the crown of the head. One more breath. And then release the left foot down so you come to stand at the short edge of your mat. Good. Let the arms be heavy. Feet are a little bit wider than the hips. You're just swinging your arms. Letting go of any tension. Feeling an openness. A nice rinse along the spine. Good. And then you'll come back to center. Step the feet so that they're hip distance apart. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Plant the hands. Step back into a brief downward facing dog. Find a lot of extension. Keep the knees bent and the hips lifting here. And then drop the knees onto the floor. Swing the feet out to the side and come to sit on your hips. Knees will be bent and feet will be flat on the floor here. Good. So you can choose to stay here with your hands underneath the thighs. You're going to want to keep the abdomen really engaged so you find all of that lift in the low back that Faraji has. If you'd like to go to the next step, then all you'll do is extend the arms out on either side of the legs. Keep that lift through the low back. If you'd like to go further, you can take your hands behind the thighs again and work on lifting the heels and bringing the shins parallel to the floor. Good. If you'd like to go one step further, our last step today, you'll extend the arms alongside the shins. Keep the chest open like he's doing and lifting through the low back. Beautiful. 2 more breaths here. Feel the hip flexors work. Feel the abdomen work. Good. And then release the feet to the floor. Bring the feet so that they're mat distance apart. Pinky toes are off of your mat. Hands come behind you, and you'll just rock the knees from side to side. Getting a nice twist, finding some relaxation and softening through the shoulders. The next time you drop your knees off to the left, keep them there. Swing the right arm around in front of you until it comes all the way behind you. Good. The further you walk your hands to the left, the deeper the twist will be. But you want to keep feeling that extension of the spine and the opening of the chest. So if you start to feel constricted there, then just back off a little bit. But notice how this twist feels. Your hips aren't planted and your feet aren't planted in any certain way. So there's a lot of freedom to twist from the belly, to twist through the upper back. We'll be here for 2 more breaths. Can you soften and breathe? After your second breath, inhale, come back to center, and then drop the knees off to the right. Swing the left hand around behind you. Good. Make sure the chest stays open here and find the deepness or the depth of the twist that you would like to access today. Hold there and breathe. Notice what the belly feels like here. So there's all of that twisting going on in the abdomen, and there's a freedom to it. Notice where that pushes the breath. Take one more breath here. And then inhale, unwind, come back to center. From here, you're going to keep your feet planted. You're going to bring your arms alongside your knees like we were doing Navasana. And then slowly you're going to roll down along the spine. Good. Coming all the way to lie on your back. And just for fun, we'll come up and do that one more time. So you'll come up the same way you came down, reaching through the hands, engaging through the core, and lifting up. Good. And then lower down. Nice. Notice at what point it became difficult for you, and maybe that's something you want to practice daily. Take a few breaths here, resting. Feet are flat on the floor. And then you're going to roll over and come to lie on your belly. Good. So when you're on your belly, your hands will come down alongside your hips. Your palms will face in towards your body. So with the palms facing towards the body and the thumbs on the floor, you already feel a slight lift through the shoulders. From there, engage through the legs. Feel the kneecaps lift. Engage the abdomen. And then on an inhale, lift the feet. Exhale, then inhale, lift the chest and the head. Hands can come up to shoulder height as you reach back. So we're working to strengthen this back body so that it can support us as we run, as we move through our lives. 2 more breaths. Exhale, release down. Turn your head to one side and just enjoy the stretch of the neck. If you feel any tightness or tension in the low back, then you can bend the knees and just drop the feet from side to side like a windshield wiper. Or even bending the knees so much so that the feet come up over the knees. Good. And then release the feet back to the floor and see if you can bring your breath into that space of the low back. Inhale, you feel expansion, a nourishment. Exhale, you're clearing away, letting go of anything that was gripping, any fatigue. Good. We're going to do one more prone back bend here, but for this one, you're going to bring your forearms on the floor and your elbows just underneath your shoulders. Yeah, there you go. So this is Sphinx pose. So there's a tendency here to collapse into the shoulders. Good. So you're going to want to avoid that by lifting the shoulders up, pressing actively through the forearms. There's also a tendency here just to let the belly flop down onto the floor. So actively engage between the pubic bone and the belly button. Good. So you feel that lift, and then you open up, lifting through the sternum. So the belly is actually lifting away from the floor here. So there's a lot of openness, engagement between the shoulder blades, openness in the chest, and length through the back body. So this seemingly easy back bend finds a lot of engagement and becomes a lot of good, healthy work. Take one more breath here. And then on your next exhale, fold forward and turn your head to the opposite side. Arms will come back down alongside the hips. And you'll just release. As though your body were melting on the floor, you let go of any tension. If you need to do the windshield wipery thing with your feet, you're more than welcome to do that. But eventually, see if you can find that stillness and start to drop into the space that you may feel stuck, and see if you can move some energy or move some of that stuckness with the breath. So the exhale is carrying that away and the inhale is just filling. Two more breaths here. After your second breath, you'll plant the hands underneath the shoulders. And you're going to start to slide the hips back so the knees will stay planted on the floor, and we're going to come into a variation on downward facing dog. The arms are extended out in front of you. The hips are only slightly behind the knees, but they're still really lifted, so even a bit more, yeah. So you're finding all of that extension through the spine without bringing the hamstrings into it. So can you lengthen? The head may rest on the floor. And find some comfort here. Take one more nice deep breath, extending through the crown of the head. And then exhale, soften. And you'll come to lie on your back. Good. And so start by lying on your back and finding some stillness. You'll need a block for this next thing that we're about to do. So once you feel centered and in your body, you'll bend the knees and place the feet flat on the floor. You'll pick the hips up, and you'll slide a block underneath the hips at either the lowest height or the second height. So you'll be able to tell which one you want as we move into this next stretch. From here, you're going to reach the left leg long and place the heel on the floor. Then you're going to draw the right knee into the chest and hold on to it with the hands. So if that's too intense, lower your block or don't hug the knee as far into the chest. Then see if you can breathe into the front of the left hip. Can you get some energy, some air and breath, some prana into that space of the hip flexors? Keep pressing down and out through the left leg and keep drawing that right knee in. We'll be here for 4 more breaths. So how deeply can you move into that hip? After your 4th breath, you'll release the right foot back onto the floor. And this time you'll hug the left knee into the chest. Extend the right leg long. Press down and out through the heel. The heel will come to the floor. And then hug the left knee into the chest. Feel that space in the front of the right hip starting to stretch or open up. And know when it's appropriate for you to back off. So if it feels sharp or it feels too intense, then lower your block or move the knee further away from the body. 4 more breaths here. Can you soften and breathe into that space? After your 4th breath, you'll release the left foot onto the floor, bend both knees, and lift the hips up. From there, you'll slide your block out from underneath you and bring the hips back onto the floor. Good. One last twist. Cross the left ankle over the right thigh. Good. So you're in your figure 4 position. And just start to rock the lower body from side to side. Here, arms will come out into a T position. And you'll find a softness and a relaxation through the shoulders and the neck. The next time you drop your knee and your foot off to the right, it will come all the way to the floor. So the left foot will plant flat on the floor. And you'll want to work the knee towards being straight up above the ankle like Faraji has, but it may have to be more like this to start. So just notice how open your hip feels and how much movement you can get there. To make it less intense, you'll draw the right knee and the left foot further away from the upper body. Good. To make it more intense, you'll draw that knee and the foot up closer to the upper body. So notice what you need. And then can you find a space where you can just breathe into that hip? Take one more breath here. And then come back to center on an inhale. Uncross the leg. And then cross the left foot. Cross the right foot over the left thigh. Good. Start to rock the lower body from side to side. And maybe you stay here with this rocking if that full stretch is too intense. Otherwise, you'll drop the foot and the knee all the way off to the left. Bring the foot flat onto the floor. You're working to get that knee to point straight up towards the ceiling. Good. So you may need to move the knee and the foot away from the upper body to make it a little easier. Or if you need a little bit more of a stretch, you can bring the knee and the foot closer to the upper body. Then you find space and breath moving through that right side of the body. We'll be here for 2 more breaths. After your second breath, you'll inhale, come back to center. You can hug the knees into the chest if you'd like. One last squeeze of gratitude and appreciation for your legs, for your body, and your practice. And then you'll extend the legs long for Shavasana. So if the hamstrings are tight, it can be nice to slide a bolster or a blanket under the upper thighs, just to take some of that strain. If you need to move it down, you can. Make it comfortable. Good. Then palms will face up. You may want to tuck one shoulder and then the next underneath the back. Good. And find a space where you can relax, where you can settle into the movement of the breath. And feel the energizing quality of the inhale that fuels you during your run. that fuels you during your race, your practice, your training, whatever it is. And allow that inhale to fill the entire body, bringing in the nourishment that your body needs to heal, to recover. And allow the exhale to carry away any waste that you've cleaned out, anything that you need to remove. And then you'll bring your awareness to the crown of your head. You'll release and relax any tension from the crown of the head to the sides of the head, to the ears, and even into the roots of the ears. Relax through the back of the head. And feel the forehead muscles softening so that the skin and the muscle just drapes over the bone. Soften through the eyebrows and the space in between the eyebrows. Relax through the eyelids and the eyes, even into the roots of the eyes. Release any tension from the nose and the cheeks into the jaw, the chin, and the lips. Soften the tongue and into the space of the throat. From the throat, that relaxation radiates out to encompass the entire neck and the shoulders. Soften through the upper arms and the lower arms. Release through the hands and the fingers. And then begin to breathe as though you could breathe directly into the tips of the fingers. Notice what it feels like to connect with the movement of prana here in the fingertips. Prana is always moving in the body, moving intelligently. And when we really focus, we can become aware of its movement and begin to direct its movement by bringing our mind and our attention to a certain space. Bring your awareness back up through the arms. Remind your shoulders to soften and relax. Allow all of the muscles of the chest to completely let go. Release the muscles of the upper back. Relax through the mid-back and the low back. Then wrapping around, feel that relaxation spread to the waist and into the belly. So the whole abdominal cavity finds a softness and an ease. Release through the hips and the glutes. Relax through the upper thighs, through the entire upper leg, into the lower leg, and finally into the feet and the toes. And begin to breathe as though you could breathe directly into the tips of the toes. Notice what that prana feels like. And then you'll slowly draw your attention and awareness up through the legs, to the hips, to the space at the base of the spine, just in front of the tailbone. And you'll move up along the spine, first drawing up to the pelvic center, in between the two hip bones. Then continuing up to the navel center. Draw up to the heart center. To the throat center. And finally draw up to the space in the center of the mind. As your awareness rests there, you can clearly see the entire body resting effortlessly on the floor. You begin to see and notice that you are the witness, the observer, watching the breath move in and out of the body. You'll begin to deepen the breath, bringing more movement into the abdomen. And slowly, that will transfer into a desire to bring some movement into the hands and the feet, which you can satisfy. Stretch if you'd like. Then you'll roll over onto your right side. Stay there for 2 breaths, just noticing how your body feels and soaking everything in from your practice. And then you can press yourself up into a seated position. Bring your hands to heart center. As your body once again finds stillness, immediately you connect to that breath that carries you through your life, your practice, your training. And if you'd like, you can gently bow your head, just recognizing that divinity inside of you. Thank you guys for practicing. Namaste.